Hello everyone and welcome to this new grand theme. This month, the topic discussed will be DataOps and what it means for company. So today I'm glad to have Michele Goetz. Michele, you are a VP Principal Analyst at Forrester. Hello, Michele.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. So you are here today because you will give us, I hope, a few insight on what DataOps mean, the importance of data within the company policies and strategies now, and how companies, I would like to say, can implement it kind of well. So to begin, perhaps with the beginning, first thing first, there is this aging now old saying that says that goes as data is the new oil. Do you agree with this? And what does it mean basically for companies?
I do, and I think it's more important than oil. Data really is the foundation of everything that we do within an organization, how we run our business, how we create customer experiences, how we build value for the market and within the market. It's how we adapt to change and become resilient. And data takes on almost a first party class as as its role within an organization.
So does that mean that the companies that don't put data at their core will soon be outrun? Is this what will happen to them?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. We progress in our careers because we continuously learn and educate ourselves. Data is that foundation for learning and education and giving the guidance and insight for us to be able to push forward. If you don't properly educate yourself, if you don't have the right information, if you don't use that as a tool for your business, you are going to fall behind.
So, but how did this happen? Because there were over the past few years, as you said, data has become more and more important. How did it happen that now entire companies, or at least services within them, are run on how data is exploited and optimized, I would say?
Yeah. So if we think about the role of analytics and artificial intelligence within organizations, it's been increasingly utilized. The adoption is 3 out of 4 organizations are advancing their AI competencies, and more than that are advancing their broader analytic competencies. Analytics is a function of how we use data. And it's not just to get insight. It's not just asking a question and getting an answer and then figuring out what to do to take an action. It's also automating and scaling our abilities and our value to our customers and to the market. Data is helping us to, have AI and analytics act on our behalf. It's powering the technology as much as it's powering people and the employees.
So now, basically, every service, every team within the companies has to do something with data. In fact,
there isn't a function within an organization today that isn't touched by a data-driven capability. Every time you're looking to find a document, within a SharePoint system, every time you're looking to, run numbers on a forecast, every time you are communicating with a customer, either through customer support or through marketing and sales communications, all of that is grounded on the data that you have.
Okay.
It makes it more personal.
Yes, of course. So as a matter of fact, data has become increasingly important, that we were saying over the past few years, and there's been this new discipline, I would like to say, policy that has emerged, which is called DataOps. This is one of the many things that you study, in which you analyze as an analyst at Forrester. How can you define it, DataOps? What does it mean, really?
Yeah, DataOps is really the new practice for data architecture and engineering.
It's a new paradigm, so to speak.
It really is a new paradigm. And the paradigm shift isn't just the things that we do and the roles that we play, but it's also taking into account that you don't build data capabilities project by project by project. You build data capabilities to create products that are consumed. So for example, if you need a new recommender engine for a digital customer experience, then you are building a data capability or a data product that is consumed to support that. And so really what DataOps is helping to do is transform all of the things that we do from a build and administrative capability to provision data from a technology perspective into a business perspective. And on top of that, what DataOps is assuring is that we do this in a responsible manner. It's ensuring that governance is by design so that we're protecting our data, we're protecting and adhering to the privacy consent of our customers, and we're meeting various regulations and corporate policies in our data use.
Yes, you were saying something that I find very interesting, revealing, is that you were saying that it's a shift, it's a paradigm shift, it's a major change. So it actually, companies have to adapt to this, because what you were saying, there is an important point, meaning that it has to be done in a whole and holistic way, because you can't have silos and team working basically alone and not communicating. Does this force companies to, so to speak, create bridges rather than walls?
Oh, that's such a good analogy. Yeah, absolutely. It's bridges. Certainly we're still going to have our centralized data management teams performing data ops to assure our data foundations. You think of data lakes, you think of our warehouse capabilities, you think about being able to provision data across the organization. So that's one area. But in order to build data products, to get the most value, you need to have localized teams. What we want are data engineers and architects working side by side with business, analytic, and solution teams to design the next intelligent solution for our business. Now, that decentralization into those localized areas requires coordination. And that's really where the bridges come into play, where you're able to share a set of global standards, but you're able to operate independently to extract as much value from the data as possible. And we talk about this as a federated model. And that's what DataOps is really enabling. If you create a paradigm for the right best practices, you set the bar for your skill sets, if you define the appropriate definitions, standards, and policies for your data, then you have a foundation for everybody to work from and then build up value independently from there.
Okay, you were just saying that this is, in fact, an enabler. Is it? What are the figures actually that you have at Forrester? Did the companies that succeeded this, that implemented and deployed DataOps, what are the figures and maybe the benefits that they're getting?
Yeah. So at Forrester, we have something called a insight maturity or insight-driven business maturity model. And so against that, we take a look at your data competency. And one of the factors of your data competency is your competency in data ops, being what is the solution development for data and those practices. And what we're finding is that to get to just an intermediate competency, you have to have a fairly robust data ops competency, because you're shifting from just kind of storing all of your information as a beginner to actually turning that into business value, even if it's just from an analytics perspective. And then you see almost all of advanced organizations having a very high data ops competency and a ubiquitous adoption of data ops within their organization. So it really is a core facet of being effective at insights, but also being effective as a business.
Okay. So I was talking about the companies that pretty soon found the benefits within this. Do you have insights or infos on companies for which it was more difficult to implement DataOps to find benefits within this? And that would be the first question. And the question that comes after that would be, what are the major setbacks that these companies saw within this major evolution, as you were saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I take a global oil and gas company, I mean, they're highly distributed and, different types, different divisions of their organizations. And those divisions have their individual business units. So everybody has ideas and is very creative about what types of questions they ask and how they're going to use insights, where data is going to be applied to run different aspects of their business, from exploration all the way to bringing, products to market. And it's a fairly complex business, not just within internal internal employees and operations, but also a fairly robust partner and consulting ecosystem that they work with. So data is sort of that bridge, as you talked about earlier, to connect all of these competencies together. Data ops really became a sort of a North Star for this organization, because what it was helping to do was ensuring that data teams weren't just thinking about systems. They were thinking about how are systems and data going to be used and consuming the data to make, decisions and actions possible. And so their data ops organization first had to shift from just administrators or database administrators and ETL developers to real solution developers. So the first step into data ops was changing the skill sets and the activities that data management teams were doing to truly become data engineers and have architect competency. And then the next thing that they did is recognizing that they needed a tight and consistent tie and communication to their business stakeholders. So what they did is they teamed up the data ops organization first with the data science and analytics teams, because those two teams were really the first to be responsible to translating data into data products and ultimately intelligent solutions. And then ultimately, that organization was able to break off to support different areas of the organization, but still maintaining that federated operation. And this is certainly being seen in how data capabilities are driving, existing metrics, improving on those metrics, driving revenue, and also opening up new opportunities and revenue streams as we push towards things like priorities around ESG, moving to, more eco-friendly transportation like electric vehicles, and where they're entering into different markets. They couldn't do that without really looking at their data ops competency to create data-driven capabilities.
So thank you. So as you were saying, the very concrete and I would say daily applications for data ops is very numerous. The last question I would like to ask you is, as you were saying, it's a paradigm shift. It's something that's moving pretty fast, or sometimes it's moving for the companies. What, according to you, will be the major trends for data ops for year 2023?
So there's few trends that are happening right now that are affecting the data space. One is a concept called data mesh, which is being more business driven in the way that you build data competency. And the other side is artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI.
Obviously, yeah.
So, I mean, those are really, exactly. You can't have a conversation today around data and analytics without talking about generative AI. But I mean, it's not a euphemism, it's real. And so what data ops teams are really challenged with now, more so than they were even as they were embarking down this data ops path, is what is that common language that they can have between themselves and their business counterparts and basically stakeholders? The way that the business teams talk about data and how they define that data domain is much more in context of how they view information, how they want to consume information, how they talk about their business. But that's not what data looks like and how it's described within our data systems. So just the word domain is a challenge, because you have to know what it means for each of you and what is that common language to discuss that, and not asking just like, give me your critical data elements, which is a common request from the data team. So that's like one side of it, is like to get on the same page. The other side is, how can you help to facilitate not only bringing data in, so, the tools to sort of hydrate your data lakes and your data warehouses, but how can you support your business stakeholders more strategically in where you can source information, how to bring that in a responsible manner, how to prepare it and make it ready for consumption. And things like generative AI, it's really opening up the door to thinking about when you're consuming data to train a generative AI model or other foundational models, or when you are using a generative AI tool to ask questions, do you have a right to that data? Is there a cost associated to it? Is there maliciousness behind the data or the capability? And it's a technical team partnered with a data science organization and governance teams that really help you to decipher the readiness of the data and de-risking of the data as you're consuming it. And increasingly, DataOps is providing more of that expertise from a technical perspective on how you can create assurance of that information that will now help you to use AI capabilities and be trustworthy and responsible towards that. Not only about, satisfying the EU's AI Act, which is impending at this point. You can't succeed at a regulation such as the AI Act if you don't have not only a strong data governance competency, but DataOps needs to instrument those capabilities to meet those impending regulations.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll make sure to stick around the evolutions on that. So, Michele, thank you very much for your answer, your insight. It was very enlightening. So, thank you for giving us a lot of infos about what DataOps means for companies today and what it will mean tomorrow. It was a pleasure to have you today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
As for I will be glad to see you in the next Grand Thema next month. Bye.